Alright, today we're going to talk about simple interest. Okay? Here's your formula for simple interest. Alright, and you need to know what each one of these. I, it stands for interest. P stands for principal. R stands for the rate. And T stands for the time. Now, by the end of the day, I'm going to be able to give you the amount of principal, the rate of return, and the time, and you're going to be able to tell me how much interest has accrued. But first, you have to know what interest means. You got to know what principal means. You got to know what rate and time mean. Okay? Interest, it says here, is the amount paid or earned for the use of money. Basically, interest is the amount you pay to borrow money. Okay? If you borrow money from the bank, they're going to charge you money to borrow the money. Okay? That's how credit card companies make money. That you borrow money from the credit card company, then they charge you money to pay when you don't pay it back on time. It's called interest. Okay? Now, principal is the amount you borrowed. So you need to write that down. Principal is the amount you borrowed. The amount borrowed. Okay? Rate is going to be how much it costs to borrow the money. So your rate is how much to borrow the money, and your time is always going to be in years. Okay? Now, if they give you months, let's say they give you 16 months, okay, that's how long? What can you divide that by to make it years? 12, because how many months in a year? 12. So anytime they give you months, divide it by 12 and that'll give you years. Okay? Also on the rate, they're always going to give you a percentage, like 20%, and you always need to make it a decimal. So always make your rate a decimal and make your time, what, Chris? Years. Time is always years. Rate is always a decimal. Okay, make it a decimal. Always a decimal. So it's important that you have the formula interest equals principal times rate times time. They're going to give you these three things. When they give you principal, rate, and time, what do you think you do with them to find the interest? Multiply all three together and it'll give you the interest. So you know the principal is $650 because that's how much you borrow originally. What's the rate? 11%, but you got to make that a decimal. What is it as a decimal? 0.11, just by moving the decimal 2 places to the left. Chris, what's your time? Your time is 4 months. Okay? Now, we got to make 4 months into what? Years. So what did I say you divide it by anytime it's in months? 12. And this reduces to what? Put in your calculator 4 divided by 12 and tell me what you get. So 4 over 12 in your calculator is going to give you 0.33 repeating, right? So now you've got everything you need to solve this problem. All you got to do is multiply your principal times your rate times your time in your calculator, and it'll tell you how much interest you have to pay. So we're going to put these in our formula. I equals PRT. We know our principal is 650. So we're going to multiply that times our rate, which is 0.11. And we're going to multiply that times our time, which is 0.33 years. 0.33. When you multiply all that together, what's your interest equal? 23.59. So this is your interest paid to borrow money. In other words, if you want to borrow $650 from the bank for 4 months, it's going to cost you another $23.59. This is how much it cost you to borrow this much. So when you pay it back, you don't owe $650, you owe $650 plus 23. So you owe $673. So that's how the bank makes money. The bank charges interest, and that's how they make money. Here we have another one. Jeremy Young, can you tell me what the principal is? 545. What's the rate, Paige? 0.095. And Jeremy Honor, what is the time?
8 months. 18 months.
Yeah, but you got to divide it by 12. 18 divided by 12, because it's in months, and you got to make it years. And what's 18 divided by 12 when you put it in the calculator? 1 point what? 1.5. Okay, so your time is 1.5. So you take the formula I equals PRT, and all you got to do is multiply principal, rate, and time. That's 545 times 0.095 times 1.5, and what do you get? 77 point what? 66. So that's how much money you pay to borrow this much money. So to tell the total plus interest, just add this plus this, and that'll give you the total. Page $98. What's my rate, Devon? No. Move it 2 to the left. 12.0925. And what is my time, Shane? 3 years. So now we multiply those together. 98 times 0.0925 times 3. And what do we get as interest? $18.87.
I didn't get that.
If you didn't get that,
I got 27.19.
well, who told me 18? Okay, type in your calculator. Let's see what you get. Before you type it in, push clear 2 or 3 times. So it's not 18.87. We did it in the calculator wrong. It's $27.19. That's your interest paid.
I didn't get that still.
Okay.
I got 271.95.
271.95. So you got a decimal. You got a decimal. So you're saying you got 271.95 like this?
Sure did.
Okay. You typed this in wrong then, because you should have got 27.195, and then you just take the 5 off, because in dollars you only go 2 places to ask decimal, because you can't have a half a penny. In simplest form. So first you got to do 50 over 300 and reduce that. 50 will go into both. What's 50 divided by 50? 1. And what's 300 divided by 50? 6. Okay, so your answer is 1 over 6. You did both of what it says. The instructions said express it as a ratio or rate. You got it as a ratio. And then make it in simplest form. You did that in simplest form.